Okay, I think we're on. I might be a little bit in the dark today, but I'm in a different place, so you might not be able to see me, but you can hear me. That's probably all you need. So I wanted to, let's see, we are ending week 3. Tonight everything is due for week 3, and so we go into week 4. I've posted some information about the midterm exam and the practice exam, just so that when you get there, it's right around the corner, and just so that when you get there, you're not like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? So if you haven't already gone into the midterm and final folder, please do. So here's your class. I'm going to go into it. I'm going to show you a few things this week that I've been asked, and we will go from there. Again, it might be a little bit long, but if you are inclined to watch it, then that's good. So let me go into your view. That's always a little bit confusing for me and you, because what I see on my screen is from the teacher perspective. Okay, so this is what you see on your left hand side right here, and you're going to see, here it is right here, midterm and final exam folder. Okay, so when you click on that, you will see some information. I'm going to scroll through my screen. You're going to see some information on taking the exam. I would definitely look at both of those links, because I'm not sure about everybody's situation, and there are many of you and one of me, so you need to read what it says about what you need to fill out, what you need to do if you're taking it at J. Sarge, if you're using ProctorU, if you're taking it at another place. So please read these testing links. That's why I'm giving you the information early, so that you don't get in a situation where you are going to get a 0 because you don't take it. The midterm that people have been asking about is right here. It's for extra credit. You have 3 attempts to be able to take it. It's timed for 90 minutes just to give you, a good solid slice of what it will be like to take the actual midterm. So there's no reason not to do it, because it's all extra credit. So those of you that have been asking about extra credit, here's one example. And then this is the midterm test ticket. You have to take that with you and your ID. And you may also bring a 3x5 note card filled with whatever information front and back that you want. But beware, if you have it bigger, like you can use one of the 3x5 index cards. That's what I would use. So you're welcome. Don't try to take something bigger in there. They will not let you have it. So they're very strict on the size and whatever I've said that you can have. So that usually helps people. So if there's something that you're struggling with, don't use the index card. You're not going to have enough time or space to be able to write down everything. Like I said, this is 100 questions. It's 300 points. You've got, I think, 2 hours to take it, so that should be ample time. It's only 100 questions. But if you've been doing your practice tests like each week and you do the midterm, I'm very confident that you'll be just fine. And if you're having questions, if you have questions on something, like you really just don't understand a certain concept, you need to be writing me pretty soon rather than later, because as you can see, there's a lot of information squished into the 10 weeks, and so you don't want to have something that you don't understand. So again, this is a little bit early, and you haven't even gotten through weeks 1 through 5 yet, but that's what this midterm, I keep calling it test 1, but that's what the midterm is on. So it's on weeks 1 through 5, and then this week you start 4, so you're getting there. Alright, so that was one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Another thing is that there's still some confusion on the labs, and I'm not sure how to clear up the confusion. So I'm just going to let's pretend that I'm you for a second, and I'm going into the labs. So I'll go into week 3, since that's what we're currently in or on. So you click on the weekly assignments, and it says includes labs. Okay, so click on that, and you're going to go in, and you're going to scroll down to whatever week you're on. I'm going to say week 3. and you're going to go into the assignments. There's my long video from last week. You're going to go in, you'll see your test, your pre-lab. Okay, so this is where you're going to see your pre-lab questions. So this is going to be the questions so you need to answer these questions. Okay, you're just going to click on it and it's going to tell you what to do. Okay, so once you submit this, then I'm going to see a circle with the exclamation mark. I don't even know if I said that right. That tells me it needs to be graded. Okay, so you don't need to do anything other than click on this and go through the information. Okay, your lab for that week is going to be, usually it looks like this. It's in some sort of folder. Okay, and then your post questions, okay, if there's a post questions, looks just like this. And then this is where you'll submit your photos. Okay, so it's all laid out right here. Okay, so when I click on the lab itself, okay, let's say that I go to the lab first, which makes sense. Okay, it's going to open up and it looks like this. It's going to have an introduction to it. Okay, and it's going to tell you what it's about, and it's going to give you a picture. Sometimes there's a video. In this case, there's a video. There's going to be an introduction. There's going to be, I mean, there's lots of information in here. It's going to show you some things. I mean, it's really good. Okay, it's going to give you some videos. It's going to talk about, in this case, macromolecules. It's going to give you some more information. So make sure you're reading these introductions, okay, because these are going to help you as well. All right, so that's what it looks like. Okay, now you're going to notice that it says click here to download and complete the pre-lab assignment. Okay, now you can do that. Okay, you can do that. You can download it and complete it, and then you could save those answers and copy and paste them out if you wanted to. Or, okay, so that's going to give you an introduction. Okay, and then you can, this is going to be the actual like lab, and so there might be a couple of these, or there might be one or two, or it just depends on the size of the lab for that week. It's going to show you, this is what I want to show you, it's going to show you all the materials that you need from your lab kit. Okay, so you're going to, when it says 250 ml beakers, you're going to pull that out. You're going to look for the burette solution. There's going to be a gelatin packet in here. If you need it from your house, okay, or you need to go out and buy something, it's going to show you in red. There's going to be an asterisk. So you're going to need, for this one, you need room temperature tap water, hot water, and an egg white. Okay, so it's going to tell you. And so when I tell you that a lab is going to take longer or it requires something different, this is what you're looking for. Okay, so for example, week 4 labs require extra time, as well as week 5 labs are going to require extra time. So you need to kind of look ahead in these labs to see what it is that you need. I think those are the two that require the most unusual, beans and stuff like that, but they've given you the beans. You're going to see the procedure. It's going to show you how to use a pipette. It's going to tell you exactly what to do. Label this, mix that, do this. Now, sometimes, especially with, I think it was maybe last week's lab, sometimes you're going to have to go through and you might need to read it a couple of different times, okay? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I actually take a piece of paper, like a scrap piece of paper, and I kind of write down what it's asking. I'm a very visual learner, so I'm going to write down, I might draw my one test tube, draw a second one, third, fourth, and 5, and then label them and make sure I'm putting the right stuff in the right containers, because you don't want to get confused. And it's easy to get confused. I mean, we all get confused what's going where, especially if you're not used to, doing a bunch of experiments. And then you're going to see something that looks like this. You're going to have the tables, okay? So again, it's going to tell you at the bottom right here that you can click here and download this fill-in table for the experiment. So while you're doing it, you're going to have this, so that you can put down, maybe you're writing it, so you can do it many ways. You can either download it and put X's or colors or whatever it is you need to put on these tables, and then, save it or keep it up so that you can copy it and paste it into the wherever it's asking for it in the pre and post lab. Or you can put your results down, like maybe you have your own table that you're writing on a piece of paper or your notebook, and you can put the information down or collect the information and then drop it into the assignment. Okay, so there's more than one way to do it. We're not really telling you we have to do it this way. You just need to put the information in to the proper format when I see it. Okay. Alright, so what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's say you've done the lab. So I'm going to come back out, and it's going to make me log back in again. Awesomeness. Guess that's what happens when I click myself out. So I'm going to get back in here. Okay. Let me move myself down. Don't get dizzy by watching that. I don't know what the problem is. Let's try this one more time. There we go. Okay. I'm going to move myself up again. Go back into Blackboard. Find your class. There you are. Okay, and I'm back in. Oh, they kept student preview mode. Great. Alright, so I'm going to go back into that lab. So I'm just going to scroll down to week 3 again. Dun, dun, dun. Here we are, back in the assignments. Okay. So now that I've done the lab, after, you know, and it says, please submit the answers after reviewing the introductory material. So let's say I click on that. Okay, so that first one that you saw was the introductory material. You're going to go in, it's due tonight, and you're going to see whatever it's asking. Okay, it's going to show you, you know, it's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then in this case, since it's just questions, you could just write, you know, you can copy that information and put it into the answer. You're going to put your answer right here. Maybe you've done it on a separate sheet, like you went and used the lab one, that's fine. You can just copy that and plop it into here. And then you're going to save it and you're going to submit it. If you don't save and submit, it's not going to show me that you did it. You must save and submit. Okay, so that's it for the pre-lab. Alright, so then, let's see if it'll let me out without throwing me out. You just never know. Okay, so it knows I didn't fill out anything, so it's going to be irritated at me for not doing it. So, and so it tells you if you didn't submit it, you should see this. Okay, it's going to tell you that you recently left it without submitting it. Okay, it's going to give you a message. And now, alright, so I've done the lab, and while I was doing the lab, I should have been taking pictures. Okay, which would be submitted here, and then I'm also going to do the post-lab questions. Okay, so these are going to be where you're putting in your actual information from your lab. So I'm going to pull this up, and it's going to say, you know, upload your data table here. Now, some of you copy this out and put it down here, and then put your information in. That's fine. I really like it when you copy the actual table from the actual lab out because it's just very neat, and I can see it. You know, to wear my glasses, and that's good too. And then you're just going to keep answering the questions. So these questions are the same questions from your labs, they're just in different places. So you've got pre-questions after the introduction. So you're reading the introduction, you go down, click the button, it's going to give you pre, right? And then after you've done it, the lab, at the bottom of the actual lab, you saw the little button that you can click there and it'll show you the post. So it's everything is pretty logical on here, and it's going to read it to you out, and then you're going to put your answers in. Same thing, you can put your answers in 1, 2, 3, 4. And most of you are doing this. I'm just clarifying. And then don't forget to say save and submit. Okay. And then let me get out of this one. And again, it's going to tell me, you know, that I didn't save and submit. You know, it's going to give me that message. Okay, and then there's your test 3. So, you know, everything is pretty. So when you're clicking on these buttons, if you see a file folder like this, that means there's information in it. Okay, like you're going to do something else. If it just looks like this little piece of paper right here, that means you're actually submitting something. So all you need to do is click on the button and put in a PDF, or put in, you can also attach things to it if it's something like this. Okay, if it has little bullets on it, it means you're writing something in it. And then your discussion board, okay, is going to be in there. And they're not always in this order, but your discussion board is going to be right underneath of it. So as long as you're doing everything in the folder, so for example, everything in week 3 assignments, okay, is due tonight by midnight. So if I go on the left side, the reason why I've separated it like this is because you can see that your lecture material, so this is for you to be able to go in and read the information for that week, and then when you're done with that, you're comfortable with that, then you have your actual assignment, and they're not combined so that it's confusing. So anything that you need for that week, and I'm expecting you to do, is going to be located in the assignments. So if you go through and you've clicked on everything and you've submitted it, then you're fine. You don't need to worry about it, okay? But if you're not submitting it by the due date, then to me it looks like you just didn't do it, okay? And so that's when you're going to start getting zeros. And since we're going into week 3, I know that a lot of these assignments are not like extremely big point values, but there's a reason for that. They're broken up. So there might be 3 points for the pictures and 10 points for the pre-lab and 10 points for the, or 5 points or whatever it is for the actual post-lab. But when you put that together for that lab, you're looking at around 20 to 30 points. So if you're not doing them or you're not turning them in, it's really going to negatively affect your grade. Okay. So with that in mind, let me go into, I'm going to go back to the weekly lecture material. And again, if there's something that you want to see me put in here that you are not finding, that's fine. Just write me and let me know. I've got, like I said before, I've got PowerPoints and different things. If I don't put them in here, sometimes it's because they're really long. But if you like them and that's your style of learning, that's perfectly fine by me. Just write me and say, hey, could you put the PowerPoint in? I do not have a problem doing that at all. Because the weeks vary and the content varies, hopefully by now you're starting to find, I would say, especially by week 4, hopefully you've found a style that's working for you in terms of videos, lecture material, whether it's reading, whether it's finding quizzes online, whether it's the tests that are helping you. Hopefully you're kind of in a groove now. If you're not and you're really struggling, you really need to write me or possibly maybe get a tutor, because it just from here, we've only got 6 weeks left. So it just kind of moves. And some of the cell stuff for this week, so this is going into the cell, so you can see, like I was saying to you before, it kind of builds on itself. So we've gone through chemistry. There was a good amount of chemistry, water, bonding, stuff like that in week 2 and 3. In week 4, we really get into the cell. So the PowerPoint that I put in there is basically like everything in the kitchen sink in a cell and what it does. And then with week 5, we get into cellular respiration. So this is all about the mitochondria. So you're going to want to know, what glycolysis is and where does it take place and what goes in and what comes out. Okay, and the same for the mitochondria. You're going to want to know, for the Krebs cycle and the electron transport cycle, what goes in, what comes out. It's not extremely heavily chemistry based. I'm not going to ask you questions on like, well, how, name this electron this, blah, 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 blah. But I will ask you questions about NAD or NADH, and I will ask you questions about ATP and, generally how things work and where do things take place, and if you don't have any oxygen, what happens, or if you do have oxygen, what happens, because this is how the cell gets its energy. And if you really don't know that, then you really can't get into, you can't really understand the way the cell membrane functions, and you will have a hard time with diffusion and osmosis. So it's all kind of wrapped up into one. And the labs for week 4 and week 5 are pretty, kind of extensive. You're going to need, like I said, you're going to need extra time for week 4, and you're also going to need extra time for week 5 because you have to soak some beans. And then week 6, so this is what your midterm is on week 1 through 5, and then, which is good because photosynthesis is another kind of heavy subject. So we've kind of split it up. So photosynthesis starts where the final will take over. Okay. I think that is it. Let me look in here and see. So again, there's some videos and some pictures. You know, I like the little pictures. Your instructional materials for the cell and organelles, and then also the cell membrane and tonicity. So you've got, that's a really concentrated, lots of information in here. But again, don't let it overwhelm you. Just study the way that works for you. Because remember, this is kind of for everybody, and everybody's got a different style. So if you like the videos, there's plenty of videos. Find another video if you don't like this one. There's lots of videos. There's a web tutorial. There's lots of stuff online for the cell, and there's lots of interesting things that, you know, it's just nice to kind of see the real world application. So if I was, and that's really what the discussion board is for too, because this is a lot of information and it can seem like it's just being thrown out there. But you have to realize that these are actual fields that cell biology and molecular biology are very, very important fields. They're up and coming, especially when we start getting into genetics. And so you can't really understand genetics without understanding how a cell works, because all the pieces and parts of the cell are pretty much guided by genetics, right? So what you get is the DNA, which is genes, encodes how to make all these things and how they work. So pretty important. And then here's a cell PowerPoint that I had. You know, it doesn't change. It doesn't matter that it's not from this book or that book or whatever book. I mean, cells are cells. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say, you know, and so this is just the instructional material for cells and organelles. And then if you go into the membrane and tonicity, you'll go in there and you'll see some more information, you know, regarding, again, modules and watching videos and lots of videos. There's a chapter 7, what am I trying to say? PowerPoint. Anyways, lots of videos. And again, if you don't like these or you think they're kind of lame or whatever, that's fine. You can look for other things online to be able to find. And if you do have questions, I saw that you all were writing, if you want to write in the student lounge, that's a good place to go, because there's going to be a lot of you that understand this material really well. Maybe you do it with your job, maybe you have taken the class before, you know, and you need it again. It's been a while, but it all comes back. It's like riding a bicycle. I understand that. That was kind of me when I went back to get my master's. So you know, just whatever way that you need to study it is fine. Just pick a way and ask me if you have any questions with that. All right, I think that's all. Let me see if I can, it's about 23 minutes, so less than last time. Yay! All right, well, you guys have a good week, and if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. All right, have a good one.